Hi everybody, my name is Mike. I'm a Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner here in the Sunset Trail District, which is part of the Cascade Pacific Council. And today I'm coming to you with a very special installment that we're calling the Cub Scout Virtual Breakout for June 2016. The reason that we're doing this is because we're having a very different kind of Roundtable Breakout at our physical meeting at Roundtable this month, where we're calling it Open Mic Night or First Amendment Thursday. Really, it's just kind of an open forum of bring your questions, your concerns, your comments, your challenges and your successes. We want people to come and have a great discussion about what's going on and be able to answer questions and share in these things that we're doing both together and as individual units. And it's I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to record that discussion as long as we have enough people to do that and present it here on YouTube for your consumption. One of the things that we're doing to make that discussion more salient is we're actually not going to be presenting any slides. We're not going to be presenting any awards, the monthly themes, cheer, game, gathering activity. It's not a specific topic, and we're not going to be doing any announcements or final thoughts and resources. It's just going to be a discussion. Whatever people bring to it, whatever questions they have or comments they have, that's exactly what we'll be talking about. Now, a lot of our Cub Masters and Den Leaders have expressed a lot of appreciation for the fact that we do talk about the monthly theme, the point of the Scout Law, having some ideas for games and gathering activities. And so I don't think want to miss out on that. So what we're doing is we're bringing all that stuff that we've pushed aside for our discussion this month, and we're bringing it in here for you in this virtual forum. So that's what's on our agenda today. We're going to talk about a couple of awards. We're going to talk about Service Stars. We're going to talk about the Alumni Award, which is a Scouter award. We're going to mention the point of the Scout Law for June, or we're here in June, so we're actually talking about the Scout Law for July, the point of the Scout Law for July, and the theme. We're going to do a cheer, a game, and a gathering activity. We'll at least talk about them. I'll try to perform a cheer for you. And while I've got a few moments here in this virtual forum, I will discuss some of the upcoming Roundtable breakout topics that we're planning to have in the coming program year. My team and I are in the midst right now of planning that, so stay tuned for more information on that coming up. And we'll wrap it up with some news, sports, and weather, I call it. Final thoughts and resources, some announcements. So, without further delay, let's get right into it. Boy Scouts of America have these neat things they call Service Stars. And any registered member, whether you're a youth or adult, has the ability with at least 1 year of tenure, registration, under their belt. You can wear this thing called a Service Star, if you wish. These stars are worn with the appropriate color background for the phase of scouting in which the service was rendered. If an individual is registered in one phase of scouting and later in another phase, separate stars with the appropriate backgrounds and appropriate numbers can be worn simultaneously. We'll get into this interesting last detail where adult leaders may combine both their youth and their adult service, their tenure if you will, into 1 or 2 service stars. It's kind of an interesting tidbit. So, this is what the stars look like. They're all sort of trimmed in gold with a blue center circle, and the number is etched in gold in that blue circle. And they're all essentially the same, the stars themselves. What differentiates them is the background that you put behind it. It's kind of a plastic disc that you punch the pin through. And to represent tenure with a pack, as a registered Cub Scout, that would be the gold color. You can see that in the top middle, I believe. By the way, the top right image here has 6 colors, and this is a bit dated. There used to be a Service Star background for Tiger Cubs. That no longer exists. That gets lumped in with Cub Scouts right now. Continuing on, for tenure with a troop as a registered Boy Scout is that top left coloring. That's a nice dark green. And if you're registered with a venture crew, a venture crew would be red, that's the lower right. A varsity team would be brown, that's on the lower left. And for all of us adult leaders, you can represent your tenure with a blue coloring. There's a fairly light blue in the bottom center there. I think it's actually a little bit darker than that these days. There's a great article by Brian, it's Brian on Scouting, Brian Wendell. He's a great author, a great blogger essentially. He has on Scouting Magazine, published about 2 years ago, basically how to properly wear service stars. He goes into a great set of detail there. And I'm going to pull a couple of examples from him because he has some great ideas, some great answers for what you commonly see. This next slide indicates on the uniform. I love this image on the right, by the way. I'll get back to this in just a second. This is simply an example, sort of a virtual example of a Cub Scout who was registered as a Cub Scout in a pack for at least 3 years and is presumably currently registered with a Boy Scout troop for something along the lines of 3 years. And you can see this is a great example of how every uniform tells a story. You can see that this youth was in Cub Scouts for at least 3 years. This Cub Scout earned his Arrow of Light. It's put on the bottom of his left pocket there. And presumably this Cub Scout is a member of the Order of the Arrow. The interesting tidbit here is that they're representing this Cub Scout, this Boy Scout, as a Scout rank. This is the old Scout rank patch before the 2016 requirement changes. Those two things don't jive, being an OA and being a Scout rank. So I find this humorous. But it is a great example. And also the other thing you can tell this Scout has done is he's earned at some point in his scouting tenure, either as a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout, this youth has earned the religious emblem of some flavor. And that's what the blue knot is up there for. And this is a great example of how you can see the service stars are worn above the Scout's left pocket flap. If the Scout has also earned or been awarded any of those knot patches, whether they be for heroism or a youth religious award or something of that flavor, those service stars go above the knot patches. If a Scout does not have any of those patches, then it can be worn pretty much immediately above the left pocket. It looks pretty good when it's centered, but most people aren't too picky about that. I'm going to read you a couple of examples because the interesting tidbit here is that as a youth, you're really supposed to differentiate those different phases of service or tenure in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, a varsity team, a venture crew, something like that, as opposed to an adult leader has the option of combining all of those years of tenure, both as a youth and as an adult, into either 1 or 2 pins with blue backing. It's kind of an interesting thing. So let's go into a couple examples. A boy was in a Cub Scout pack for 3 years, then crossed over into Boy Scouting and has been there for 2 years. He would, if he wishes, wear 2 stars, a 3-year star with gold backing to represent his Cub Scout tenure, and a 2-year star with a green backing to represent his Boy Scout tenure. Another example, a boy was in Cub Scouts for a year, left the program, came back and joined as a Boy Scout, where he's been registered for 2 years. He would wear 2 stars, a single 1-year star with the gold backing for his Cub Scout tenure, and a 2-year star with a green background for his Boy Scout tenure. It's fairly straightforward as a youth. The only thing that's a little bit tricky, in my opinion, is if a Scout is registered in multiple different units. For instance, a Scout could be registered as a Boy Scout in a Boy Scout troop as well as a venturer in a venture crew. My understanding currently is that a Scout would wear stars for both of those 2 things simultaneously. Essentially, if you registered as a Boy Scout for 4 or 5 years, let's say 5 years for example, and then that youth joined a venture crew a year ago, that youth would wear the pin for the venture crew of 1 for 1 year and a 5-star for his Boy Scout tenure. I believe that's correct. I haven't exactly read a great example that talks about that. And of course the venture crew background is red, the Boy Scout backing is green. I had to go back and check that real quick. Let's go over a couple of adult leader examples. An adult was a Cub Scout for 4 years, a Boy Scout for 6 years, and now he's been a registered adult leader for 10 years. That adult he has 2 options essentially. He can wear 3 stars, one with the number 4 with a gold backing for his Cub Scouting tenure, one with the number 6 with a green backing for his Boy Scouting tenure, and a 10 with a blue backing for his adult leader tenure. Or that particular individual could choose to combine all those into a single 20-year pin with a blue background. Both are valid. Another example. An adult was in Boy Scouts for 5 years and has been registered as an adult leader for 30 years. There is no 35-year pin, star, if you will, so he would wear a 30-year star and a 5-year star, both with blue backgrounds. So as an adult leader, when those pins get up at above the 10 number, they start to increment typically every 10. I think there's a couple of 5s. There's like an 85 or a 75 I've seen. But for the most part, you see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 90. I don't believe I've seen a 100. It might exist. I don't know. Another example. An adult was in Boy Scouts for 5 years, has been registered as an adult leader for 71 years. He would wear a 70-year star and a 6-year star, since he has 76 years of service. He could also opt to wear a 7 and a 1 with a blue background for his 71 years as an adult leader, and then a 5-star with green for his 5 years as a Boy Scout. That's okay. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. One of the things I wanted to mention to you is that in our pack, this is just a suggestion, we like to give out these service stars to our youth as they earn the Arrow of Light and bridge into Boy Scouts. It's kind of one of those things where it's a parting gift from us to them. And when they finish the Arrow of Light, they're ready to join Boy Scouts. They should have, in the traditional and community units at least, have chosen a troop to join and be ready to cross over into Boy Scouts at that point. And this is one of the few things that as a Cub Scout you can take with you into your Boy Scout uniform. You can wear, as previously mentioned, the Youth Religious Award emblem, knot, and patch. No, the emblem and the knot, excuse me. If you are awarded a heroism award or something along those lines, you can take that with you to your Boy Scout uniform. One of the ones that is most commonly seen is the Arrow of Light patch, which resides underneath the Scout's left pocket, as that Scout is a Boy Scout. You can also take one of these service stars, however many years of service, 1 through 5 typically, as to represent your tenure in Cub Scouting. And that's kind of an important thing. A Cub Scout transitions from Cubs to Boy Scouts, and it's kind of a big deal. It can be stressful at times. It's a whole new world out there. And to have that one thing on their uniform, not only that Arrow of Light patch, but that service star that says, yes, you were a Cub Scout for however many years, can be really nice to have something on your uniform to say, yes, I'm not just a complete newbie at this scouting thing. So we like to give, along with the Arrow of Light award and the card and the mom's pin or parent's pin, whatever it is, also the service star to represent how many years that youth has been in Cub Scouts. And again, it's kind of a parting gift. It is just a suggestion. It's what we like to do. We've kind of started as a tradition in our pack. And, you know, it's also the kind of thing that you can give out at Blue and Gold. If that's the sort of thing you recognize people's tenure, give some recognition to your adult leaders at Blue and Gold. You could also hand out service stars at Blue and Gold. I like to think that when a Scout finishes the Arrow of Light, has completed it, is being awarded that, they're essentially closing the chapter on their Cub Scout career, if you will, and they're moving on to Boy Scouts. So it's really easy to say, here is how long you've been in Cub Scouts. Now you're done, you're moving on to Boy Scouts. It's not going to change that particular number until the youth, if they wish, becomes an adult leader and can combine those into 1 or 2 pins. So that's our suggestion. Take it for what it's worth. All right. As adult leaders, we can indeed wear service stars. And a lot of my volunteers choose not to. That's okay. But I wanted to give you guys another award that is very, very uncommon. I have never seen this in the wild, so to speak. And I'd like to encourage people out there to give this a try, to at least understand what this award is, how to earn it, and know that this is available to you. As a preface, I've always said to all of my adult leaders in my pack and the people that I talk to at Roundtable that I think every single adult leader should be working on at least one award at any given point in time. And for me, it doesn't matter if you've been an adult leader for a year, for 20 years, for 50 years. You know, we have a job to do. We've volunteered to do this thing. Typically, most of us volunteer. And it's nice to also have a goal in mind, a goal, because this program isn't about us as adult leaders, it's about the Scouts. So it's nice for us to have something to strive for. And if you've been around for a while and you've got a whole set of knots on above the left pocket of your uniform, and you've seen the whole thing, this may be one award that you could look into trying to sort of augment your experience and to give back a little bit more to the program and bring other people in. This is the Alumni Award. The Alumni Award is recognized, is designed to recognize an alumnus who has helped other alumni reconnect with the program. This was created back about 6 years ago in 2010, and it coincides with what I call a fairly large rotatilling of the adult leader award programs that Boy Scouts of America offered at the time. If you go look at meritbadge.org and some other sites, you'll see that there were a lot of patches and awards that were available to Cub Scout leaders, Boy Scout leaders that aren't available today. They're discontinued, they're retired, and you may very well see them on uniforms. In fact, if you've earned one of those, you should wear it and be proud of it. Whether it's an old Den Leaders training, Cub Scout, a Tiger Cub leader patch or Weebelow's leader patch. You earned those things. You have the right to wear that. Nobody should give you a hard time about that. I've said that before in other videos. But this one came out of that revamp. And there is a national council committee, I believe, that is formed to engage alumni and bring them back in for those people who have been a part of the program and have sort of drifted away or aren't currently actively involved. We're trying to re-engage those. And to quote Bill Steele, who is the Director of Alumni Relations with the Boy Scouts of America, the requirements are tough, and that is by design. It's not meant to be an easy award to earn. There are 4 sections that you have to complete, a series of requirements for each section. Some of them have more than one requirement. Some of them you have to complete all the requirements, and some are all or one or a few. So let's get into this. The first section is alumni identification and promotion. You need to complete 3 out of the 5 points here. The first is to create a communications vehicle designed to identify and engage unregistered alumni that have been approved by the local council. So you're going to engage with your local council's committee, the Alumni Relationship Committee. You're going to engage with them, and you're going to create some sort of a communications vehicle, whether it be email, website, or whatever. That's something that you need to talk to those people about. So that's one option of these 3 out of 5, remember. Second one is to assist in planning an alumni activity, either with the district council or at the community. The third would be to contact at least 5 adult alumni that are not currently registered with the Boy Scouts of America and engage them in a discussion about the program and help them register with the bsalumni.org website, either as a hiker or a pathfinder. Number 4 here is to make 2 presentations to non-scouting groups promoting the Boy Scouts of America, alumni membership, and volunteering in general. And finally, obtain at least 2 scout profiles or stories and use them in local council alumni promotions. Forward a copy of the profiles or stories to the National Alumni Relations Office. National and local councils are looking for stories about people who were in scouting, people who were Eagle Scouts, people who have had their lives changed for the better by the scouting program, and this is what that's all about. They're sending people out to try to find these things. The second section is alumni engagement. One must complete all 4 of these things to complete this section. First is to make arrangements for at least 2 unregistered alumni to attend a scout activity, either with the district council or community or region or national level. And for all these 4 things, the people that you engage with must be mutually exclusive and different than the other 3 requirements. I personally can see this being maybe a district fundraiser. It could be something as simple as going to Roundtable, getting these people back involved at the district level, or going to a council awards dinner or something like that. It's really just saying an activity of some kind, an event. Maybe going to Camporee. That's something to tell you. And this is something to talk to the alumni relations people about at your council. Is this the kind of thing that works for you? Second one, facilitate registering at least 2 alumni as members of the Boy Scouts of America. Again, must be different than the people that you engage with for the other 3 parts of these requirements. Number 3 is to personally solicit and obtain Friends of Scouting gifts from at least 2 unregistered alumni. And finally, number 4 is to recruit at least 2 unregistered alumni to volunteer at district, council, community, region, or national event of some kind. It could be something as simple as Jamboree. It could be volunteering at Camporee here if you're with your district. It could be all kinds of different things. It could be a council event, for instance, a Cub Scout recruitment event, to pull somebody in who used to be in Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or an adult leader or a district volunteer and get them engaged again. So all 4 things in the alumni engagement must be completed, and of all those 4 things, the people you count for each one must be mutually exclusive from all the other 3. So keep that in mind. That's kind of a tough one. The third section is personal participation. First and foremost, serve on the local Boy Scout Council, Area, Region, or National Alumni Committee. So you're going to be a part of the committee. That would be the first thing to get involved with, is to volunteer to be on the Alumni Relations Committee. Visit bsalumni.org and complete the scavenger hunt. Upload 2 of your own scouting-related photos to the BSA Alumni Scrapbook section, and share your favorite scouting memory with the Rekindle Memory section of the alumni website. So again, they're looking for these stories, these images, to help with promotion, to help with bringing people back into scouting. For Eagle Scouts, there is an additional requirement, and that is to become a member of the National Eagle Scout Association and to register on the NESA website. So if you are an Eagle Scout, you have one additional requirement. It's not hard. Finally, part 4, complete one of these 4 things. It's personal education. The first one is to either become an alumni ambassador by successfully completing the online alumni volunteering training, or to attend an alumni session at the Boy Scouts of America National Annual Meeting, or number 3 is to attend an alumni course at the Philmont Training Center. Those are each fairly big things to bite off, but again, you only have to do one of those 3, which is kind of nice. So again, this award is not intended to be easy, and one of the things you probably noticed is there is no tenure, there is no do-by requirement. I think this is the kind of award that you can work on for years. But for the most part, you can work on this at your own pace, work on one requirement, finish that, move on to the next one. Again, keep in touch with your local council's Alumni Relations Committee and make sure you're making the correct progress and making the right decisions. So again, if this is the kind of thing where you have exhausted a lot of your other awards that you've been working on, you've accomplished a lot of things, and you're looking for something new and different, this is a great award to pick up and give it a shot, especially if you know a lot of people in the community that have been with Boy Scouts of America previously but aren't currently engaged. All right, moving on. We are in June. We're looking forward to July. So we're going to talk about the point of the Scout Law for July, which is loyal. A Scout is loyal. A Scout is true to his family, his friends, his leaders, his school, and his nation. This is fairly straightforward. Most of our Cub Scouts understand exactly what being loyal is. This makes a great Cub Masters Minute or a point for a den leader to make, and so I really encourage you, if you have meetings, if you have events that you are doing with your Cub Scouts in the month of July, to pull in this theme, this point of the Scout Law of loyal, and have a discussion about what it is to be loyal and why it's important. I mentioned last month that I wasn't really a big fan of the theme for June. This was back in May, if you watched that video. I like July's theme. July's theme is Scout Salute, and the comment here is Cub Scouts should show their loyalty during this meeting, this event, whatever it is that you're having, by participating in several activities such as honoring the American flag, creating a pack banner, hearing about loyalty from a guest speaker, or demonstrating loyalty to a team through something like a pack game. And that kind of transitions into some ideas for both loyal and Scout Salute. For the month of July, one of the great things that we could be doing as a pack or even as a den is to have a 4th of July barbecue. We don't do this in my pack. We actually have a barbecue at the end of the summer to kick off the new program year, since we kind of get things rolling back again in September. And I wanted to mention one of the things that we like to do at our pack barbecue is we like to end it with a campfire, and we do a flag retirement ceremony. We go to the council and we find a flag that needs to be retired. Our council has many flags that need to be retired, and I'm sure that yours does too. Find that flag that needs to be retired, find a script, find people who are willing to participate. It takes about 5 people to do a proper flag retirement, 4 color guards and 1 person to call, maybe 6 if you have. We have a great script that we do, and we make it very meaningful for our Scouts. This would also be a great thing for the 4th of July. Have a barbecue, if you wish, retire a flag, and maybe watch some fireworks, something like that. It could be a very respectful and fun event for the entire pack. You could do it. It could be short, it could be long. And again, to get into what it is to be loyal and why 4th of July is important would be a good tie-in for this. Just a suggestion. Another suggestion would be to have a guest speaker, to bring in first responder, military, whether former military, reserves, or active military personnel, or somebody along those lines that can speak to what loyalty is and what loyalty means to them, and how that translates to our Cub Scouts. Finally, a great idea that was brought up a couple months ago was that our Cub Scouts can volunteer to present the colors at something like a public event, whether it be a sporting event or maybe a parade or something similar to that, or maybe just hoisting the flag at Town Hall on the 4th of July, or maybe at some point during that week. It can be a great community impact to let your community know that, yes, we're here, we do good things, and it's important that our youth understand what citizenship and loyalty is all about. And I mentioned another one there. If there's still a chance, you can get involved and march in a local parade if there is a parade on the 4th of July in your community. It's always a great activity. I forgot to put it on the list here. If you're working on adventures during the month of July and you want to tie in loyalty and Scout Salute, for Tiger Dens, earning your stripes, which I believe is a required, not elective, excuse me on that one. Maybe it is elective. I'll have to go back and look. Wolf dens, council fire is required, and that has elements in it about learning about the flag, learning how to fold the flag, care for the flag. That's a good one. Bear dens, pause for action, also has some of those loyalty elements, and I believe there's some flag care and etiquette in there. And for Arrow of Light, building a better world is required. That's a great one to get going on, and that has, again, loyalty and things like that, elements involved. So if you haven't conquered those in your run yet, I would suggest thinking about those for the month of July if you want to pull in those two elements, the point of the Scout Law of Loyal and the theme being Scout Salute. Okay, let's do a cheer real quick. I need to get my notes up here. This is the bicycle cheer. And this is actually new to me. I saw this on the web a couple weeks ago and I thought, oh, this sounds like fun. And it requires a little bit of leaving your dignity at the door almost, because as a den leader or a cub master, we're going to do the bicycle cheer for whoever it was. And the first thing you got to do is put on your helmet and click it in. And then very simply, we just pump, 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 pump. That's the bicycle cheer. I hope that comes in handy for you. It's simple. Again, if you do that a couple times in front of your Cub Scouts, they'll know exactly what to do when that time comes along. So take that and use it as you wish. My suggestion for a game today is a classic. Yeah, I'm kind of phoning this one in, but I've wanted to talk about this a little bit for a while. One of the games that we really enjoyed playing when I was a Boy Scout especially, not quite so much as a Cub Scout, but I can see doing this with Cub Scouts, is Capture the Flag. There's a great WikiHow article out there. I've linked it right here at the bottom. If you're not familiar with Capture the Flag, how to set it up, or you need some reminders like I did, what the rules are, how to set these things up, that's a great article. I'm a big fan of WikiHow. Let's get into it. Got to go back and find my notes. So, this is best for large groups. If you have fewer than 6, it's just not going to work. Ideally 10 or more. So really a pack event, a pack outing, if you have a large den, it would probably work. And you want to have even numbers too, especially as you get towards the lower numbers. If you have 9, you're going to have an uneven split, and that's going to be kind of tough. So it can be played with as few as 6, I believe, but try to find more scouts. It's also best played outdoors. I could see potentially doing this indoors in something along the lines of a laser tag arena, someplace like that. But it's really best done outdoors. And realistically, this is a great summer game for good weather, to get those scouts outside, get some fresh air. The idea is first split your youth into 2 equal teams. Again, if you have a bunch of 10-year-olds and a bunch of 5-year-olds, make sure to mix those equally. Don't pit the 10-year-old against the 5-year-old. It's not fair. Each team gets a flag or some other object. It could be a shirt, it could be a hat, it could be, a cone or something like that. And they should be uniquely colored. Maybe one team is the blue team and one team is the red team or something like that. Boundaries need to be established first. It's basically a rectangular field of play, and that rectangular field is split in half into 2 zones by the center dividing line. That center dividing line is extraordinarily important. The other boundaries actually aren't nearly as much. You can basically just tell your Cub Scouts that, we don't go beyond those trees or that stream or whatever. It's not a game of being out of bounds. It's a game of being on one side of the line or the other. Each team typically is given a few minutes to hide their flag. Some of the rules usually indicate that the flag must be visible from at least one angle. It cannot be tied down to anything, whether it be a stick or rock or whatever, and it cannot be buried. Each item also needs to, each team, excuse me, needs to establish a jail, and usually this is best done by the people who are refereeing the game or something like that. And the jail is for captured opponents, by the way. So, in order for a team to win, the one team must capture the other team's flag and bring it back into their own territory. Some people play by the rule that the team must bring the other flag all the way back to their own flag. Other people play it such that as long as you cross that center line with the other team's flag, you have won. I believe that they're kind of relatively equal. Okay, if a player, here's the important part. If a player is tagged by the opposing team while inside the opposing team's territory, then that player goes to the opposing team's jail. Jailed players may be freed by other members of their team who bravely run in and tag them to free them from jail. Again, typically the way we've played it is that a single player can run into the opponent's territory and tag a single member of their team that is in jail, not to free everybody. You kind of have to put a bit of a clutch on that. Again, an important point, each team has these jails. They should be equal distant from the center dividing line. You shouldn't have one jail be way in the back and one in the front. It's going to make it a bit asymmetric and easier for one team to free their captured players than the other team. So again, symmetry is extraordinarily important. And that is essentially it. Many hours can and have been spent in uproarious fun playing Capture the Flag. Most importantly would be having equal teams. It's best played, I believe, in either an open field or maybe a wooded area. I always remember enjoying it, playing it when there was a little bit of cover to try to hide and sneak around. It becomes a bit more of a stealth game than a sprint game. And again, it's important to make sure that everybody is playing fairly and playing in an appropriate manner. There are some variations on one-handed tag versus two-handed tag, and which one gets a scout, in jail, that sort of thing. Make sure you establish those up front, and make sure you have a discussion about not playing roughly, especially if you have younger scouts. 10-year-olds and such, maybe 9-year-olds can fend for themselves amongst themselves pretty well. They're pretty rough and tumble group, but you throw in a 5 or 6-year-old and things can get kind of messy. So that is my suggestion for a game. Again, it's a great summer outdoor game. When you have a nice open field, make sure you mark out that center line so everyone knows where it is. 2 flags. You don't need a lot of gear or setup, and the scouts catch on pretty quick. And they've probably played it in phys ed or something like that. So there's my suggestion to you. Capture the Flag. It's a good, solid scouting game that has been played for many decades. All right, a gathering activity. This one comes from Cub Scout Ideas. This is a great website, by the way. There's a link down here at the bottom for you. And this is really simple. Again, it's a good gathering activity because as a scout comes in and joins the group from whether it be a den meeting or a pack meeting, they can join in as they come in. You don't have to have everybody there at time 0. So here's what it is. You have to pick one person to start to be it, and the rest of the boys create a circle or possibly a semicircle around it, and the player who is it selects another player, walks up to them. It asks the player, "Honey, do you love me?" or something similar. I suppose you could choose a different phrase, but it has to be a question, I think. And the person being asked the question must answer, "Honey, I love you, but I just can't smile." Now, the player who is it may not touch the player that they're asking the question to, but they may make funny faces, they may talk in a funny voice, they may gesticulate wildly. If the other player, who is not it, and is being asked the question, laughs or smiles, that player then becomes it, and trades places with the scout who was previously it. This is a good one because technically the minimum number of scouts you need is 2. It would be a little boring going back and forth, but 3 is probably sufficient. And then again, as scouts come into whatever meeting or whatever thing that you're doing, they can join as time progresses. And I'm sure this could be uproariously funny as scouts love to try to make each other laugh. Okay, let's take a few minutes and talk about some of our upcoming roundtable topics in the coming months. We're kind of wrapping up our program year, and we've got a great discussion next month. We're going to talk about service projects. That's both going to be community service and environmental service. We did this discussion about a year ago and got some great feedback, some great responses, and so we're going to do that again. In August 11th in particular, Sunset Trail's annual Burger Burn and our fall recruitment kickoff. I highly encourage everyone to come. I've got a slide coming up in just a minute with the announcement section to talk about that. In September, we're looking at doing discussion on Cub Scouting with disabilities. This came up from some of our personal experiences in our pack, and some struggles and some challenges that we've managed to overcome. And we wanted to share some of that, and we've learned a lot in the process. So we want to talk about that. We're going to talk about social media marketing and public promotion for your pack. That's really very much a pack level type thing. That'll be October. We have a few months where we're not sure exactly what we'll be presenting. If you have anything in particular you'd like to hear about, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know. In January, we're going to talk about summer camps. We're pulling our early spring, late winter topics up a month. We talked about summer camps in February this year. And so next year, we're actually going to bring it up to January so that we can talk about spring recruitment in February. There's some very good reasons why we're bringing spring recruitment into February. And then we're going to follow that up with annual planning and Journey to Excellence discussion in March. And beyond that, it's kind of TBD. We're not sure exactly what we'll be doing. So we hope that some of those topics resonate with you. We've got a few open slots, and we'd love to hear what you want to learn about, what you want to hear about. And if you'd like to talk about something, come visit us and present. You're more than welcome to do that. I don't have to stand here and talk at a camera or talk in front of a group every single month. So I welcome that. So let's talk about, what did we go over today? We talked about the Service Stars. We talked about the Alumni Award. We did the Point of the Scout Law and the theme for July. We did a cheer, we did a game, we did a gathering activity, and we talked about our upcoming roundtable topics for about the next 10 months or so. So let's get into some news, sports, and weather here. As mentioned just a minute ago, Thursday, August 11th, starting at 6:30 p.m., it's a little bit earlier than usual, is our Sunset Trails annual Burger Burn. It is a great event. There are prizes, awards, free food. Everyone is welcome to come, youth, adults, the whole thing. It's a shindig, folks. And if it's nice weather, which it usually is in early August, we're going to do this outside. It was a great event. They gave away a ton of free stuff, camping gear, you know, all kinds of great things. We're looking at having our district awards ceremony at that. We ended up not having a district dinner this year, and so we're still accepting nominations for the District Award of Merit. If you're not familiar with that, I'll put a link in the description. And we're also going to roll into, once we finish the awards ceremony and finish our Burger Burn, we're going to roll into our fall recruitment kickoff, which is a pretty big deal because most of us live and die by recruitment of Cub Scouts. So if you're having some challenges with your recruitment efforts, come and join us and listen to some of our best practices for recruiting Cub Scouts. We're also looking at doing spark plug awards for individual units. If I find a nomination form, I'll put a link to that in the description for you guys. Also in the description there will be a link to a Google Drive location where all of these slides and handouts will be available for you to download, by the way. After that, there are 2 sessions of Wood Badge. One starts in mid-August. It's being headed up by David Nash over at Camp Cooper. It's going to be great. And then the following month is 2 weekend sessions with our venerable Council Commissioner Dolly Olson. She is amazing. And if either of those works for you and you would like to go to Wood Badge, I strongly encourage you to look at doing that. The cost is $240. If there is an issue with cost, I say this every month, please ask. There is assistance available at the council. There's a link to registration and more information down below. If you're not familiar with what Wood Badge is, it is an advanced leadership program for adult leaders, and it aims to make us better scouters. It's for us to become better, to provide a better program for our youth. So beyond that, put it on your calendar if you have youth who are Webelos Scouts and traditional and community units especially. Webelos Woods is a little bit earlier than usual this year. We're looking at September 30th through October 2nd. It should be at Camp Merriweather again. It's been there for a fair number of years. If you have questions or want to volunteer to help, please contact Big Jack, which is activities@sunsettrail.org. We'll probably be having more information on that one in August-September timeframe as it comes forward. I know that September is kind of late to really give you some details because the event starts September 30th, but we're usually asked about packing lists, what to bring, that sort of thing. Again, the target audience here is 4th and 5th grade Webelos Scouts, typically in traditional community units who don't have restrictions on going camping, because this is an overnight event. It's actually a 2-night event. Finally, right after that, the week after that, sorry, it's not finally, we're looking at a big district training event on Saturday, October 8th. Some of the expected course offerings include Scoutmaster and Assistant, Baloo, if you're looking at taking Cub Scouts camping, which I strongly encourage you to do, or even if you don't go camping and you take them out for day events and have a campfire and cook some food, Baloo is, even for LDS units, this is 90 to 95% applicable. It's not all about sleeping bags and tents. There is some of that, but really it's all about taking your scouts out and having a great, exciting time, adventure, exploring the outdoors, and giving them a good outdoor experience. Beyond Baloo, we have venturing advisor and assistant we expect, as well as a crew committee challenge, or quite possibly troop committee challenge, depending on the interest level. And most importantly for this audience, all of the Cub Scout training, we call it omnibus. Den leader, Cub master, committee member, I believe pack trainer. Margot Mead does a great job of teaching all of those things, and I think it takes about 3 hours for her to get through the whole thing. If you are not trained yet, or you have a volunteer on your pack who needs to be trained, this is the thing to send them to. Saturday, October 8th. The location is still TBD, so keep an ear open for that. I'll let you know when I know more about that sort of thing. If you have questions or want to register or put your name on the list, please contact Mary Wolf. Her contact information is down there at the bottom. Finally, almost finally, University of Scouting, save the date. It is Saturday, November 5th this year. Tentative location is Southridge High School. We don't have it booked yet because we can't book the high school for another 2 or 3 months, I think it is. As soon as they book it, we'll remove the tentative from that location. Doors typically open at 7:30 a.m. for registration. I've been in contact with the two wonderful ladies who are co-chairing the Cub Scout curriculum. There are going to be some great courses, a great program. I strongly encourage everyone to go to University of Scouting, especially if you haven't been before. There's a lot of great stuff. Dutch oven cooking is a very popular one. Den discipline is really great especially for den leaders, if you have been struggling with keeping those scouts under control and focused. Edible crafts is fantastic. Things about science and camping. There's no reason not to go unless you have something else going that day. And if you do, I recommend you move that something else to a different day, because this is a good one. There is some information there at the bottom. There's more coming soon. That last link there for our council's website still has 2015 information, which is still valuable because you can get an idea of what courses are offered, what to expect from all the flyers on that page. So go check that out. Finally, I trust me on this one. Sunset Trails Pinewood Derby. The District Derby is currently scheduled for Saturday, March 11th. We're going to do our very best to keep that and to not cancel, to not move it. Our location is TBD, but we had a great time at the Beaverton Library AB meeting room last time. It was a great location. We'll probably try to do that again. Theme is still TBD, and if you have questions or you want to volunteer to help, please contact Anthony Mernick. He did a great job with last year's Derby, and he's looking forward to doing this again. Expect more information in the next 6-7 months as we get that built up. Finally, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we have a website. Please contact, connect, subscribe to our channel, like the video if this was worthwhile for you, and otherwise I want to thank you for being here, watching our presentation. I hope that you learned something good, and hope to see you in future Roundtable breakouts as well. So with that, I wish you a good month. Go forth, do scouting, and we'll see you again soon.